Hey everybody, it's the end of week 3 here at the legislature and we're already getting a bit slap happy. There was a big deadline this week. It's called the unlimited introduction deadline, which means that after this point, legislators can only introduce 3 more bills each. So today was a crazy day for bill introduction. It feels like there were 4,100 topics introduced. It was only like, 200, but crazy week. Don, let's start with a couple education bills. We're going to go rapid fire today.
Yeah, so many bills today. So let's talk education. First of all, Partners in Education is one of the bills we've been tracking. It's already passed the Senate. It's already passed the House committee. In fact, it'll be on consent next week, and then it'll be sent to the governor for signature. So that's a really good deal. And in addition to that, sometimes there are bad bills, and one that required homeschoolers to submit to testing and to provide annual notice. And after talking to the prime sponsor of that bill this morning, we were able to convince him to withdraw that bill. So that's a good thing too.
Yeah, he said he's heard from hundreds of people back
Yes.
home. There's a lot of different allies engaging on this issue. Something that really stood out to me, I've heard the sponsor say it a couple times, and he said a couple to our friends. Of all the interactions he's had over these last few days with homeschool families, he commented how they were so respectful and kind in making their case.
That's how you make things happen.
And guys, that is just, we should be speaking with the aroma of Christ, and it's just always an encouragement to hear that, because boy, wouldn't it have been a bummer if he said the opposite. All those angry people who wouldn't stop yelling at, we don't want that. So next, let's move on. Dawson, a couple
all
more
right.
education.
So next up, we have a tax credit ESA bill. So basically, what this would do would provide a tax credit of a certain amount to those homeschool families who are using a certain amount of dollars towards qualifying equipment for that homeschooling. This was dropped by a friend, and it's a new idea, and yeah, we're just always happy when we get new ideas out there for expanding tax credit or expanding ESAs or homeschooling options.
And I think that one would apply to private schools as well.
Okay, private schools as well.
Yeah.
Next up, we have a bill on the same topic in the opposite direction. This is a homeschool exclusion bill. So this would not allow any public funding to go to any homeschooling or private schooling there as well.
No, homeschooling.
This one's just homeschooling. So it wouldn't allow any public funds to go towards homeschooling. And generally, we're for the expansion of school options. So this is definitely one that we might be concerned about.
Yep. Let's talk about a couple betting bills. We've talked about them briefly. One is dealing with online sports betting, the other with online, essentially horse and dog race betting. Both of those are moving along. The sports betting bill hasn't hit committee yet. And if we look across the nation, the addiction rates, especially among young men on these online platforms, is that how we want to be funding state government? A lot of times we see up here this attitude of if X is happening and producing dollars, well, the state should be a part of that. Well, is that how we want to raise money for our state? Is that what we want to be involved in? Because as soon as the state gets involved in something, we then have an interest in seeing it expand and grow and produce bigger revenues. Is that what we want for South Dakota? Bringing in revenue off the backs of addicts. We say, hold up, let's hit the pause button. But let's move on to a couple other topics. Don, what do we got?
Yeah, so let's talk healthcare and health. First of all, there's a do not harm bill, and basically that's short for allowing healthcare workers to be able to say, hey, on my conscience, I can't really perform this activity for you. So it protects them from being separated from their employment if they don't feel like, hey, I can do this. And then secondly, there's a birthing center bill that's coming, and what that will do is it will extend the access in underserved areas to have access to midwifery and that sort of thing, which we think is super important, especially in South Dakota.
So 3 guys on a video, but the big question is, Dawson, what is a woman?
Yeah, okay. So next up, we have a bill that we've kind of dubbed the What is a Woman bill. Basically what it would do is it would define man and woman in state statute and tie all agencies and South Dakota government, anything connected to that, actions, yes, to those definitions, so that we make sure that we are using the correct biological answer for those.
So somebody call Matt Walsh. We should get him to come testify.
Yeah.
Next, on that same topic, last year, you remember we passed privacy protections in restrooms, showers, etc. In schools and government buildings. We saw some legislation drop this week to actually walk back some of those protections for firefighters, law enforcement, or other government-regulated buildings. So we're definitely going to be taking a look at that, because anytime we're walking back protections, we're going to have questions. So stay tuned for that one. And then finally, we'll talk about a mandatory reporter bill. This adds clergy to the list of mandatory reporters. So here's the thing. If you or I or any of us are aware of a serious crime being committed, we can already be charged with another crime for not saying anything. You know there's a murder and you cover it up. You know there's serious abuse going on and you stay quiet. As regular citizens, you can already be charged for hiding that. So we know that situation. But here's what some of the mandatory reporter requirements are. Things like cause to suspect that a child is not getting proper education. Cause to suspect that parents aren't giving proper guidance. So in those type of situations, let's say, for example, a dentist. A dentist is on that list. Should the dentist raise questions and tell the state, hey, we think something might be going on here? Sure. A pastor is the most equipped person to step into that situation. If they notice a hurting family, their job is to step in and help, to point the person to true help and healing. And wouldn't it be arrogant of the state of South Dakota to say, hey, pastor, you've noticed a hurting family? Just go ahead and turn them over to us. We've got a caseworker who will handle things much better than a pastor or a loving community of a church ever would. So we're definitely going to have some questions with the mandatory reporter bill, because it also breaks the seal of confession. So right now, for example, a pastor or priest can't be hauled before a judge and say, hey, whatever they told you, you have to tell us. Whatever they confess before you and God, you have to spill the beans. That's what essentially would happen if this bill passed. So a lot of questions there. Again, rapid fire on a bunch of the issues. There's going to be plenty more, but thanks for joining us for week 3. Stay tuned.